So we have Tammy Else, Child Life Coordinator from Lutheran Children's Hospital, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you all about their services as well. We have Reverend Patrick Reiki from Parkview, Volunteer Services and Director in Chaplaincy. We have Miss Allison Sturm, Project Rachel Coordinator from the Diocese, and Miss Dana Wyatt, who's Bereavement and End of Life Coordinator from DuPont Hospital. So we thought we'd follow up with that FEMA report with what happens if you do have a bad outcome and what services are out there in the community that can help mothers through that experience. So we're going to start by each of you. Please introduce yourself. Obviously, tell us where you're from, tell us about your organization, and then describe your services if you would.
So again, my name is Allison Sturm, and I'm actually representing two ministries today because my good friend and boss, Mary Glowowski, had some urgent business. So the first thing I'll talk about is Miriam's Blessings. Miriam's Blessing is a new ministry in our diocese, and it's for anyone who receives a catastrophic prenatal diagnosis. They're paired up, it's a peer ministry. So they're paired up with other people who are trained who have already gone through a very similar situation. So basically, it's somebody, they walk with that person through the diagnosis, the rest of the pregnancy, the birth, and up to a year afterwards. Our diocese covers the Fort Wayne, there's 14 counties. So it goes from Fort Wayne all the way through South Bend. And Miriam's Blessing, which is the name of the ministry in our diocese, is based off of the ministry called Be Not Afraid. So I just imagine that there's different ministry names in different parts of the country, but they all follow the same guidelines. So I did bring brochures and cards. We have a contact person for the South Bend area, and we have one for the Fort Wayne area. So if you call, if you have a mother that has a catastrophic prenatal diagnosis and you want to direct them to someone, then we have the two coordinators, and then they take the information and they match you up, and they try as much as possible to have both the mother and the father as the peer ministers that assist both the mother and the father who are going through this experience. Yes. Oh, no. It's for anybody. But because it's a Christian Catholic ministry, certainly the hope is that somebody who receives this diagnosis, they're certainly going to support them to carry the baby to term and to recognize the gift that they have of this life inside them while they're carrying the baby. But it's not just through the pregnancy and birth, it's up through the first year. Any other questions about Miriam's Blessings? Okay. And then Project Rachel Post-Abortion Healing Ministry. This was started in the Catholic Church about 35 years ago. Again, it is for anybody that comes, and we serve both women and men. And it's not just the mothers and fathers. It can be anybody who is affected by an abortion decision. So I serve as the coordinator, again, for our diocese. And so if somebody calls me, simply I listen to whatever they want to tell me. And then together we figure out what is the next best step. Now, maybe they're best with someone like me who's not a trained professional, but I am a trained peer minister. And we have women and men. Say I'm listening to them and I can tell they have a lot of other issues that are complicating their grief. Then I know I need to connect them with a counselor, and we have counselors throughout our diocese. So I guess you're really only concerned with Allen County, right? Okay, we have counselors here in Allen County. And then if they are Catholic and they want to go to a priest, there are certain priests that I connect them to. But again, it doesn't matter if they're Catholic. If they are a different faith background, that's my job, is to help them to connect them to the person that's going to help them in their healing. And sometimes it might be a mixture of all three. We're here to help connect them. Unfortunately, at least the 6 years that I've been in it, I don't have a lot of people that call me. So what I have been doing is doing education programs in parishes, in schools. I talk to high school, college. I'm going to do a presentation tomorrow to the Franciscan Center. I've been at Matthew 25. I'm going to meet with St. Anne's. I'm happy to do whatever it is if it helps you guys know how to respond to a woman or man that says that they've had an abortion in their past and it's complicating their pregnancy now or just their overall general health. And I think I've talked a lot, so I'm going to pass it on. Oh, I guess, any questions on that so far? Okay, thank you.
So my name is Patrick Rickey. I'm the director for chaplains and volunteers at Parkview. And first off, let me just say thank you to all of you who are providing amazing resources and support for women and babies. As a former, somewhat long-term recipient of WIC, thank you. We had a miscarriage with our first pregnancy, went on to have 4 other children, but going through that, as many of us in the room have gone through one version or another of losing a baby, it influences how you look at the situation from there on out. So now what we do in chaplaincy, and I'll talk a little bit about a support group too, for every stillbirth and every miscarriage and every infant death that happens at a Parkview facility in Allen County, a chaplain responds and is there for that family. Now, that doesn't mean that they go in and have a spiritual or religious conversation. That's up to the mom. If she wants that, then certainly we'll do that. But there's a lot of state regulations and hospital requirements, and our chaplains also fulfill a lot of those too. So they sort of have a dual purpose. So one is that emotional support, and the other is sort of the practical. So if I can just share a story, and then I'll kind of quickly list off our resources. One of our chaplains, who's been there for about 5 or 6 years full time, had a phone call not long ago, and there was a mom at the front entrance who wanted to see him, and that's not normal for us. Usually, if moms want to see a chaplain, they're in the family birthing center, or someplace like that. Excuse me, sorry. And so he went down and met her, and realized after talking with her that this was a mom that he had seen at one point in the family birthing center after the stillbirth of her baby girl. And she came, and she had a picture of him when he was baptizing their baby who had just passed. We don't get those opportunities a lot. You can't take pictures of yourself baptizing people's dead babies, that kind of thing. So you don't get to see those images very often. And she just came, and she wanted to say thank you. And then she had a handwritten note, which we assume was from mom, because moms are usually pretty good at handwritten notes. But as he brought it back up to the office and finished reading it, realized that the note was actually from Dad. And Dad said, thank you for coming and reading that scripture from the book of Lamentations. You don't need to be a biblical scholar to figure out what the book of Lamentations is about, right? So thank you for reading that scripture. And the dad had this beautiful way of wording. He said, you turned my rage into peace. And so those moments, now that's an exceptional visit, and there's actually a lot more stories surrounding that family in particular, but knowing that there's that opportunity at that time, different religious beliefs about when to baptize, but we don't kind of get into that. We're there to do whatever the patient needs at that particular point in time. And so those opportunities are incredible. And, whether it's a 6-week, miscarriage and mom's coming in for a D&C, or she's in the emergency department, or whether it's a stillbirth, or whether that baby's 8 months old and, comes in. Our chaplains are involved in all those situations to be that support. So that's a little story, and then I'll list off some of our resources. Our best resource, and I have some postcards on this, and I will have these available at the end. Our Healing Hearts support group meets monthly, and it's really become very robust. So much so that we're starting to a second group for pregnancy after loss. That's something that DuPont's been ahead of the curve on, and we're just trying to catch up a little bit with that. And the one group has grown so large that they have the need for the other group. We also are trying to implement a group that meets at Parkview Randalia, because that is in that 46805 zip code, and there's a lot of need there too. So the Healing Heart Support Group occurs now. The Pregnancy After Loss group will be up and running this summer, and then we hope by the fall to have a group at Randalia as well. So those are some of our basic resources. Excuse me, I'm sorry that my voice is trying to go out. There's several other things, but only one that I would really want to highlight, because I don't want to talk for too long, which I've probably already done. But one other, has anybody heard of the cuddle cots? I know DuPont used these first as another thing they were ahead of us on, but the cuddle cots, can you tell I'm upset about that? No, I think, it's great to learn from what Dana's done, and we've done a lot of that and tried to follow in their footsteps of the good work that they've done. The cuddle cots are little cooling beds they're designed for an infant after death. Because babies, especially if it's a stillbirth, babies break down so quickly, much more quickly than an adult after an adult dies. And so the cruel reality of it is either mom was sort of hurried along to go ahead and let go of baby because the baby's breaking down, or she had to witness baby's skin breaking down. Neither one of those options are acceptable. And so these beautiful little tiny, it's like the simplest, like, duh, why didn't anybody think of this 100 years ago sort of thing. But it's a little cooling bed for baby. And so you put baby in for a little while, and it looks just like a little tiny crib. Cools baby and keeps baby from breaking down. And we've had moms keep baby with them, for quite a bit longer. And it's really been a fantastic resource. We have one available at Randalia and one at PRMC too. Any questions before I pass off to Dana? It's on Tuesdays, and it's on the card here, so.
We did set up a table at the front.
Okay, great.
It's where you're signed in.
When you start the pregnancy loss group, will you email Meg so that we can make sure we have
Yep.
that, especially for Randalia?
Yeah, the pregnancy. So the group that exists now is just a general loss group. Miscarriage, stillbirth, infant death. The next group will be the pregnancy after loss, so moms who are pregnant after they've had a loss. And Dana's got a group like that too. But that's such a specific time of grief, so we'll get that out.
It's nice that something will be central in the city.
Okay, I am Dana Wyant. I do work at DuPont Hospital. I'm a labor and delivery nurse there. I work part-time as our bereavement and end-of-life coordinator. So I help facilitate our bereavement program mostly in the birthplace, getting some programs going in our emergency room and our OR for those patients that come in through those areas with miscarriages and D&Cs, and to get more follow-up and support for them. We're trying to get our perinatal palliative care program, which sounds a lot like what you're doing, which is awesome, for those patients that do get a diagnosis that their baby will not survive. I've noticed a big change in the past few, probably definitely 8, 9 years. Most of those people are continuing a pregnancy. We used to see a lot more people terminating them. So my goal is to meet with them, when they get that diagnosis, and get them connected with people that have walked that journey before, and get them set up, if we need a consult with our neonatologist and get a tour of the intensive care nursery if baby will go there, get them hooked up with agencies if that baby might go home. So that program's still being developed, but we're doing it somewhat. Our bereavement program, we do have the 2 support groups. We do the Resolve Through Sharing parent support group. I did bring brochures for that. That's for any loss, through any loss of pregnancy, usually up to about a year of infancy. Our group's about 3 years old now. As Patrick said, I started a pregnancy after loss group about a little over 2 years ago. Just started seeing some people in our group getting pregnant, still needed support, but this group isn't a great fit. So we started, I met with some moms, and it's like, because there wasn't a lot of information out there on how to start a group like this. So met with some moms in our group, and it's like, what do you need this group to look like? So we do meet every 2 weeks. It's a great thing for them in between their ultrasounds and their physician's appointments to get that support. We'll listen to the baby once they get far enough along, because that's just have a lot of anxiety with that pregnancy, if you can imagine, no matter how far along they were when they lost that baby. So it's been a great journey for me to meet with them, with the loss, and then get through the pregnancy. We do Resolve Through Sharing program. We have a lot of things donated. I do have a poster board with some of the things we get donated for us. One of the greatest things was the cuddle cot, and my goal is to get one in every LHN facility. We have one in DuPont and one at Lutheran, but nowhere else right now. I think that's the highlights of what we do. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Oh, yes.
The pregnancy after loss group,
Mhm.
do they have to be, like, does their doctor have to be part of DuPont? Do they have?
No, we have people that have delivered at Parkview. Actually, some people in their group, they've actually, we work together. They would send me, and I don't try and get them to deliver at DuPont. They go back and they deliver at Parkview. But yes, they come to our group and deliver at Parkview, come back, and, we're having a reunion next week. Will be our first reunion for the babies that have delivered. So no, you do not have to deliver at DuPont to come to our group at all.
Do you have cards also with the meeting time?
Yeah, I have brochures for both of our groups. Okay, thank you.
I'm Tammy Else. I'm a Child Life Coordinator and Family Support Service Manager at Lutheran Children's Hospital. I kind of tag off of where Dana leaves off. We do help. Our program is called Forget Me Not because they're never going to forget their loved ones. And in our childbirth center and neonatal, in our childbirth center, they primarily do the Resolve Through Sharing like Dana does, and they have the cuddle cot. In our neonatal intensive care unit, they kind of do a combination of our Forget Me Not program and the Resolve Through Sharing program, so they have a little bit of both programs, and we found that really helps. My role, because I'm a developmental specialist, is that I can help the children, siblings, understand a lot. So a lot of my time is spent helping siblings when they're involved, helping tell the parents how to talk to their kids about it, how to be very concrete, how to use the word dead, dying, death, instead of passed away, lost, because that creates so many misconceptions for the siblings and the children. So we do a lot of education and support, actually supporting kids and families at the time of death, whether the siblings are there visiting and participating in that terminal wean or not. We do a lot of legacy building activities for them, creating handprints, different things. We have a music therapist on staff, and she can record the heartbeat and put that to music for the families, which is a very amazing thing to be able to do. So we tap into those resources throughout, and we do any pediatric death, and we consult, again, with those other areas. We even help children of adult patients who are dying sometimes, and do a lot of work with our interdisciplinary team. Our chaplains do a lot with us. We couldn't do it without the team because it usually is a team approach and helping them understand. I did bring with me, and I'll have them out at the front, just a little general thing. One of probably the best things that we did when we created our Forget Me Not program, maybe 8 or 10 years ago now, is we created a website, and this website is available to anybody in the community. If you Google Lutheran Children's Hospital or Forget Me Not program, it'll come up, and underneath there, it talks about telling children about death, should my child attend the funeral. It's just a huge resource to the community, which is really, really helpful. We also have on there different resources from websites to books to use. Some of the books that we give out is Where's Jess, which is one when the children have lost a brother or sister, and then Whistler's Last Song. These we have in our cart, and we use our bereavement cart, and it goes with us, and we give these to the families so that they can utilize them. It's not an exclusive list, but it definitely helps families to give them things. So we participate at the time of death, and then we follow up with our families for 2 years after. So I'll have this out there. We do, again, the memory making things. We do phone calls with them and send mailings. I also, in my spare time, am a volunteer facilitator at Aaron's House. And if you guys are not aware of Aaron's House, it is a beautiful, beautiful facility that we have here. It's very unknown, tapped into by lots of people. This is a peer facilitating group. It starts with age 3 to 5s. And goes all the way up through teen and young adults. And while the kids are in their group, their peer support groups, the parents have an option to go into a group, which is not necessarily talking all about their feelings of that death, but it is, how do I help my child? And they, again, peer-to-peer help each other. What do I do when my child's having nightmares? What do I do? So an amazing program. There's no cost to this. It's a wonderful opportunity. So I have the coloring book. They have a resource list that they give out, and so that's included in here. So you guys can take a look at that. I'll have that out at the table. And then we have an adult bereavement program at Lutheran that I tap into. So I have that. With that, we do a lot of referrals to the Community Grief Center out there. So there's a few cards. I don't have a lot, but those are in there. We do a lot of referrals to programs that they have there. They have men's programs, women's programs, family counseling, individual counseling. So just a lot of support that we use. So we tap into those. And then I'm sure, because Michelle is a part of this, that you guys know, we have some support groups with mood changes in moms and perinatal that definitely helps for them that we utilize and refer to too. So, any questions?
So you all have talked a lot about the resources and how you help the family through this crisis. Talk to us about, it happens all the time in FEMA.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Allison. It happens all the time in FEMA where we read about, the loss is such an emotional time, and there's a lot of income issues where they don't have money for a burial, they don't have money for anything after they leave the hospital. So if you haven't covered it, can you please tell us what you do, what resources you provide, or what assistance you provide once the family leaves the hospital?
Kevin. I know you have some, I'm going to definitely let her tell a little bit about that. I do know I'm still learning a lot. I'm just taking over the Family Support Service Manager role. And so with that, I'm correlating and working a lot with our social workers. And I know that they have a list of places that we contact when families don't have any resources, from our emergency rooms to any of the units. So I am working on extending that. Again, I'll have some of my cards out there, and if as I develop those, I'll make sure I communicate those to you guys so that we can share it with the network too. So,
I guess I'll just say not that most of our clients would leave the hospital, but if somebody needs counseling, the counselors we refer to, they have a heart for this ministry, especially for the post-abortion ministry. The other ministry for Miriam's Blessing, since that's peer ministry, it's not applicable. But if a counselor charged a rate and somebody couldn't pay for it, then our diocese would help cover that.
Allison,
Yes.
can I say, as a fellow Catholic, I had a loss myself at 20 weeks, and the Catholic Cemetery gave us a free plot in the infant burial, and they did our headstone for free for our baby. And D.O. McComb's funeral home did a visitation. They came to my house and they picked up my baby, and and they provided a casket, and they provided us with a visitation room, and then they did the actual setup for the graveside service, and interred our baby all for free. And and all for free. And I am a midwife, and I have called for other people who are not Catholic and so aren't burying at the Catholic cemetery, but other cemeteries in the area do offer, sometimes it'll just be a free plot, and then they'll have an infant gravestone that may be $100 or something, but far reduced. And other funeral homes I know often do have services for loss of children. So just everybody keep that.
Yeah, almost all the funeral homes here in Fort Wayne and most of the surrounding areas will do the service for free, provide a casket, do all the paperwork, and don't charge anything. A lot of the cemeteries, again, very little cost to do a burial or a cremation. And then we also have under 20 weeks, we always give them, they always have an option. They can certainly do a private burial, again, very little cost to that. But I know both DuPont and Parkview, D.O. McCombs comes and gets those babies. And that includes anything from a D&C, D&E, any miscarriage. I have a program that if they miscarry at home, they can bring their baby in and their baby will be buried. And McCombs does that again for no charge. It's a group burial. It's not a private, but they'll put a plaque there and a date so they know where their baby is. And I know that you've started doing some memorial services for those also.
What about the Buddhist people and the Muslim people? Also free too? Is it all
It'd be anybody, yeah, anybody that want to do it.
low-income group or
No, to be anybody.
criteria?
Yeah, anybody that has a loss of a baby, we'll send them to almost, I can't think of a funeral home here that would charge for that.
Nobody asked us to provide any sort of
Yeah,
financial.
no, there's no financial, it doesn't matter if you don't make anything or, you know, you make six figures, it doesn't matter. They will never ask you how much money you make. We'll just provide.
We were very overwhelmed, it was very unexpected, and a friend made all the arrangements, and they did not insist that we come in and do that, she did everything. For us. So, because you can say to families, oh, they have this, and we could not have done it, we could not have done it. And so just to let people know that, other people can take care of things for them.
You have a question?
I'm Betsy with Healthier Moms and Babies. I recently had a client that lost her baby at 22 weeks. And D.O. McCombs did provide her service for her, but then she had to pay at the cemetery where she wanted to bury her child. And the trustee's office paid it for her.
Yeah, there's a lot. I know I've worked through my church. They have the pastor has a discretionary fund, and I've gone when people just didn't have anything and they wanted to do certain. So there is, you know, almost anybody, if they know about it, can help them find somebody to pay for anything.
And it's not just babies too. You know, if you had an adult loved one who died, the trustee will do that a lot of times. Yeah.
I have a question, Allison. When you said that if someone was going through one of your resources and they didn't have money for counseling with therapists, the diocese would pay for it, would it have to be a Catholic-based? No? Okay. Okay.
I mean, I think that probably they would run it through their insurance if they
Right.
had it.
Mm-hmm.
The counselor would already give a sliding fee, but, you know, to be just to them, they have to earn a living also. But, so we would,
We've run into a few instances where this mom in particular who wanted faith-based, a faith-based therapist, and we had a hard time trying to find someone that would bill Medicaid that was faith-based.
I actually thought
Oh, you did find one? Okay, good.
good, I'll
Didn't know
talk to you
that.
afterwards. Tell me.
Can I talk about one more thing?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
one more quick thing. Also, outside of DuPont in my spare time, I head up a Walk to Remember for perinatal and infant loss. So just look for us. We're on Facebook. We're starting to get some flyers out, but we're also looking for resources to be provided. So anybody out there that you have anything for families that have lost a child, or or maybe they're pregnant again and maybe need some resources. I think there's a lot of people in this room. Again, my card's out there. I'll have my information there, but we just want to get as many resources out. This will be our 4th year. Last year was a huge, we had over 400 people come to our walk last year. So I think it's a great place to get, we provide some of the Aaron's House and different things like that. So anybody has any resources that you would like to provide at that walk, it's in October, so.
Thank you. Let's give a big round of applause for our great. If you guys want to go stick your stuff out there, I'll stall them. How's that? All right. So thank you all for coming. I just want to remind you, our next event is August 1st at DuPont Hospital, subject to be announced, and the year-end luncheon will be on 11/14 at a Parkview Hospital facility. So.
And also bring back those tours.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And the tours. We've got tours at 1 o'clock. Follow Joe or contact Joe if you want to. Or you can walk around. That works too. Thank you.